The woman washing her breasts in the sink of the ladies' toilets at Kefalonia Airport had one of those faces older white women get from spending too many years abroad in climes unsuited to their skin, as if a brown paper bag had shrink-wrapped itself around her bones. The breasts themselves were large and hung to her waist, and she heaved them individually into the basin, which she had half filled with soapy water. She looked over at the small queue of female passengers who were determinedly staring at their phones, or at the tiled floor, or at the door behind which the toilet attendant had disappeared, quite as if they hadn't noticed the half-naked woman in their midst. Unable to resist, Shelley glanced up, and immediately the woman latched onto her. "Needs must, eh, sweetheart?" Her laugh was startling, a sudden, spontaneous volley of applause, but the smile that followed was small and tight as a purse zip. The woman had a silk turquoise scarf tied like a headband around her stringy brown hair, which was streaked with blonde and grey. The scarf was fringed with tiny silver discs, and on her tanned, leathery wrists she had matching turquoise and silver bangles. Her eyes, which were sunk deeply into the brown paper of her face, were a bright, marble-hard blue, and they fixed greedily onto Shelley, giving her the unpleasant sensation that it was she who was naked, rather than the other way around. A cubicle came free, and as she hurried in, Shelley stored up the woman's details in her head, already anticipating how the others, Lucy, would laugh when she recounted the scene. Funny how we always think the people who will do us most harm will enter our lives with a fanfare or a cacophony of alarm bells ringing. But sometimes they're just washing their breasts in a tiny sink, and we haven't a clue. Jess. Something had woken her up. But if she was awake, why weren't her eyes open? Jess experimented with first prizing one eyelid open, then the next, which is when she realised she wasn't in bed. She was lying on a prickly blue blanket. No, a rug. She was lying on the bedroom rug. What had she taken last night? Images came back to her in snapshots. Cocktails, 2 for 1, rude not to. Tequila shots lined up on a bar, crammed into a toilet cubicle, kneeling, supplicant, in front of a long line of white powder. Now she became aware of a buzzing under her left hip. Her phone. That's what had woken her up. She brought the cracked screen level with her eyes without raising her head. Lucy. FaceTime. The last thing she felt like doing was talking to her sister. But in her groggy state she lacked the wherewithal to decline, jabbing at the screen ineffectually, intent only on silencing that infernal buzzing. Her sister's face appeared on the screen, frozen there silently, her mouth slightly ajar, as if suspended in the act of formulating her words, and then the signal jogged into gear, and her sister started screaming. "What?" Jess rolled over onto her front and heaved herself into a sitting position, holding the phone with the image of her still shrieking sister about 6 inches away. Her hand was unsteady, and the picture wobbled, rendering her own tiny image a small dark blur in the uppermost right corner. What? Now that she was upright, she became aware of a crushing pressure in her head, as if her skull had shrunk until it was several sizes too small for all it contained inside. There was a hard ball of anxiety in her stomach that had something to do with her sister's very obvious horror, and a sour smell that she suspected was coming from her. Fuck's sake, what? Lucy stopped screaming and pointed to the place on her screen where Jess imagined her own image must be. "Your face," she whispered. "What have you done to your face? What have you done?" Jess rolled her eyes, assuming she was talking about the hungover state of her, but still her hands crept up to her cheeks and came away wet with blood.